Here are the results of the first question I asked you on my audience analysis. I asked you to tell me why you no longer participated in music classes. Nearly everyone chose the response stating another class was required for graduation. Later on in my survey, many of you agreed that music education is valuable to students and should continue to be offered in schools. But what if you had to be tested on it in order for the classes to prevail? It may seem like a crazy idea, but it's not. From my previous survey, I learned that almost everyone chose to participate in some form of music education because you wanted to. Now, the only thing stopping you is mainly due to other classes taking precedence over music. Music education is extremely beneficial to students, and in order to ensure these programs remain funded, states should pass legislation to add music to the core curriculum and add it to the list of subjects students are tested on. Okay, let's start with what you already know. You already know that music education is beneficial to brain function. It is most closely related to the cerebral cortex, the area of the brain responsible for attention, memory, and language. As Qi Zhang proves in his article, music education is vital to brain cognition, which calls into question the validity of our current music education system. Zhang calls for a switch from the current system, which oppresses students' creative power and lays undue stress on the rote memorization of subjects, to a system that includes music as a primary subject. This updated education model has clearly worked for other countries. Instead of considering music as an extra activity, countries like the Netherlands implemented mandatory music classes as early as the 70s, implementing exams for those courses shortly after. Global test results paint a clear image of the widening gap between the United States and countries that include music as a primary emphasis of their curriculum, according to James Ponter, a curriculum advisor for the state of New Jersey. These two sources are part of a multitude of studies and results proving the connection between music education and intelligence. Each piece of evidence urges you to take a stand for these dying programs. Usually, the effects associated with music education are tied to the brain. It makes you smarter, it improves your memory, etc. What is lesser known are the effects of music on the general well-being of people. This mainly has to do with the fact that it is much more difficult to prove something as subjective as how much a person likes school. There are many other factors in play during the school day that make this theory so hard to prove. In a study conducted in Finland by Paavisisko Erola, a professor of musicology, a link was established between music education and quality of school life, or how much a person is satisfied and happy at school. In her study, Erola found that students who participated at a higher level of music classes were generally more satisfied with their schooling experience than those who simply participated in normal music classes or none at all. These results support the idea that music education helps improve general well-being. But what about closer to home? In Oklahoma, where districts experienced budget cuts at the beginning of this year, educators reflect on what is lost when music programs are cut. In an interview with Emily Wendler, Gwinnett School librarian Brenda Roberts explains why the loss of music programs is so devastating to some students, saying, "I've noticed it's the students that do not excel in academic classes that do well in the arts. It lets them shine." Some of you may know from personal experience just how important these programs are to some students. You may not have felt as invested in the music when you participated, but I'd be willing to bet that each one of you can think of at least one person who loves singing in choir or playing her clarinet in band more than life. Those kids are everywhere, and there are many more who haven't and may never have the privilege of experiencing the joy of music education. They are the reason that music education should continue on. Now that you know music education's importance, you need to know how best to advocate for it. Advocacy is vital to the survival of music education. This battle has been going on for nearly 50 years now. According to Kenneth Elpis, a choir director in New Jersey, the time spent by teachers on advocacy is wasted. School board members are aware of the bias music educators possess and practically ignore a teacher's arguments from the moment he or she begins to speak. Because of this, in order to save music education, advocacy must fall on the shoulders of others. Elpis says music educators must learn, quote, how to build alliances and key partnerships in their local communities with parents, non-parent taxpayers, and business owners whose voices will not be ignored by school board members. When teaching others how to advocate, it is important they understand what to advocate for in order to inspire change. It is important for board members and administrators to understand the need for separate classes, divided by skill level and type of music. These classes cannot remain effective if they are consolidated into one group, says Tim Gorel, a journalist who focuses mainly on the subject of education. When classes are combined, for example, the advanced group is suddenly forced to downgrade to the level of the youngest beginner group, destroying the point of the classes altogether. In conclusion, it is clear that music education has great benefits for students, both intellectually and socially. These classes must continue to be available to students for such reasons and should be added to the list of subjects students are tested on in order for these classes to remain intact for generations to come. For this change to occur, new advocates must come forward to take the place of music educators and relieve their burden. They are unable to create the change to save music programs, but any one of us has the ability to do so.